Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be streaming 3 trials today. We're going to do sentencing for Bionca. We're going to continue our dust enduring coverage, and we're picking up on a new trial, Matthew Paul out of Wisconsin. So all kinds of things happening today. Let me just make sure my audio seems okay. If you notice, I've got a nice little cut here from Rafa. I woke up yesterday morning with him trying to climb up on our head post, headrest, whatever that thing is called, and jumped down on me and woke, got up, blood streaming down. So it kind of goes with the holiday theme of Halloween, right? Kimbers, good to see you. Iowa Backyard, Mama C, Bluebird, thank you for joining us. JRN, Aussie Gardner, Crochet Nana, JMS, good to see you. Alice, yes. 80s Music Man, thank you for joining us. Crochet Nana. Rafa. So they were jumping around like little lunatics, like they do, and I had covered I was hiding underneath my covers because they're jumping all over the place, and I just pulled my covers over like this, and Rafa was trying to climb up on the headboard and swat, landed right on me. I got up, blood streaming down. But it kind of fits, right? The Halloween spirit, I suppose. I'm going to have a scar there for a little while. All right, let's check out, let me check out our live feed here. All right. Just give me a moment. Let me check in with the feed here. Make sure we're not live. All right, just bear with me because why is this not interacting? Why am I not able to interact with this? Okay, they have not gone live yet. That's why. So they're going live at 8:30. All right, you need to get away from there, please and thank you. Yep. Okay, there you go. All right. So today we are picking up on the sentencing of Bionca Ellis. She was found guilty October 15th. She was guilty on all 9 counts. Oh, come on. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Cats being cats. And they're going to go right back to it. It's going to be one of those days, I can tell already. If I lose power, you guys know I got cats climbing all over cords right now. Okay, you need to keep on moving. There you go. Okay, good kitty. All right. Hey, Angelique, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Trixie and Amanda, thank you for joining us. All right, so Bionca Ellis was found guilty October 15th, guilty on all 9 counts. And she is going to be sentenced today. Now, the penalties for... let's see, she faces up to life without parole. So I'm assuming we're going to hear some impact statements today. I'm guessing we're going to hear some impact statements today. Hold on a sec. I want to make sure something's going on here. Let me just make sure our feed is okay. Okay, so they're on. All right, hold on. Why are they on and we're not? Just give me a second. All right. So they haven't gone on yet. Just give me a minute. It's live over here. I want to get over here. These guys are live. So hold on. Yes, Rafa. Yes. Yes, buddy. All right. All right, just give me a moment here. We have closed captioning. Here we go. Get rid of that. Okay. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas, as they say. Okay. All right. Psychosaurus Rex, not even a full moon and they're losing it. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, it is Monday. We made it to Monday. Asi, 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 oi, 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 Deviant is saying. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Here we are on a Monday. Busy day today. Busy day today. We've got Bionca Ellis sentencing. We've got Dustin Duran. He's still on direct examination. He'll be going into cross. He starts in like 15 minutes, so I got to go over there. And then we have a new trial. As if things aren't crazy enough, we got a new trial. All right. All right. All right, let me see, 8:45. All right, so Dustin Duran's going to start in about 10 minutes. So impact statements, I'm guessing, wow, we'll probably hear from Margo, mom and dad. I don't know the dad's name. I missed the dad's name. Kimbers, good morning to you. Queen Ruth Ann Edward, thanks for coming in. Appreciate you watching this trial. Roomba vacuum clarification. Let's see here. I think I can make that a little bit more centered. All right, so this is supposed to be starting at 8:30, which is now. It's 8:35. And let me just make sure. See if we can catch some hot mic moments. Rafa, come on. Come on, Rafa. Hey, Denny Dawn. Good morning to you. Let's bring that down a little bit. The representation is there. Those are her two lawyers and, of course, the state having a friendly conversation. All right, I'm going to go, we'll go quiet. Hey, Shorelife, good to see you. Well, we're not going to stream three at a row, or three at the same time. We're going to do Bionca and Paul here, Matthew Paul here, and then we'll do Dustin at another station. So we're only going to be streaming two things at once. So whenever Bionca finishes, we'll pick up on Paul. Paul doesn't start until 10 Eastern, so it's another hour and a half. I don't know how long Bionca's going to go. I'm thinking an hour to 2 hours, I would think, with impact statements. And then Dustin Duran will just pick up as normal. Narcoleptic insomniac, yep. get the tissues. This is going to be rough. Hey, Virginia, good morning to you. Marguerite, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Bite me. Hello, hello. Hey, Selena K, good morning to you. Mallory, good morning. Rafa's saying good morning to you as well. Dude, his eye's doing a lot better. Oh, and, well, we got gifts over the weekend too. I don't know who sent us, but we got this. I don't know who sent this, and some food. So this is really cute. If you sent the Dora kittens, these things are adorable. These things are really cute. Right? They're really, really cute. All right, hold on. Ah. So if you sent us these little guys, these are really, really cute. Please let us know who sent these, because aren't those fun? They're like on either side. They're really cute. They're not catnip, but they're just soft little toys. They go really great with the. They go really great with these. They go really great with these. So for our Halloween special, we'll definitely be showing these on our Halloween special. No, clues are going to stay on Durin. We're going to keep those on Dust and Durin just to keep it simple. I'm not going to be cross-pollinating clues. We'll keep those on Dust and Durin. So the clues for Halloween will still continue to be on Dust and Durin. Hey, Hellrider. Good to see you. Yeah, Deviant. Let me out. He is very talkative today, Sharon. Very talkative. Hey, Saudi girl. Good morning. Justice for little Julian. Absolutely. Good morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Yeah, we did. It was actually nice and relaxing. We didn't stream. We caught up on a lot of things. We're doing a new trial today, so we had to do all kinds of background info on that. I'm making graphics for the clues for our Halloween special on Friday. This Friday, you guys. This Friday is our Halloween special. So I'm making clues for each character. So that took me a little bit of time. And started Task, which is pretty good. Mark Ruffalo's in it, and the guy that played Ben from Ozark, he's in it. Watch Weapons with Ruth from Ozark, and the guy who played Mack, the Mack and PC commercial. That was pretty good. Yeah, Weapons was pretty good. I enjoyed that. Let's see what else. So yeah, it was a nice relaxing weekend in the sense of just lobbed around. Didn't do any yard work. Didn't have to do any yard work. Didn't do any cooking. We ordered pizza on Friday, so we have leftover manicotti and calzone. So that'll be fun to eat. And yeah, it was good. Fun weekend. Mama C, Task is really good. Yeah, we're 4 or 5 into it. I think it's 7 episodes, and I think we're through 5. We have 6 and 7 to go. So I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Yeah, little Julian. Pammy, good to see you. Yeah, it was a fun weekend. I hope you're feeling better as well. Hope you're doing better. C. Gilmore, good morning from chilly Vancouver. Denny Dawn, hoping everybody had a good weekend. It looks like we got some action coming here. Everybody's taking their place. All right, I'll see you guys on the other side. Well, not yet. Regina, yeah, it's good. It took like the first episode to really get going, but once it gets going, it's worth it. So hang in there. The first episode's interesting, but once you get past that first episode, it really kicks in. Like we watched, I think 5 episodes over the weekend. They're like an hour. It's HBO, so it's like they're like the first episode's over an hour, but then the other ones are like 50 minutes. So they're yeah, it gets going. At least in my opinion. Pammy, much better. Good. Good to hear that. Iowa. Let's see. Tons of lawn work here. Yeah, corn husk blew in from the field and accumulated all over falling leaves. Yep. I'm sure. Deviant, did I just hear Squeaky Gate or another kitty? Squeaky Gate. Agent 333, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Mandy, good morning. Happy Monday to you. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to have to start the Dust Endurance stream in a few minutes, you guys, so I'm going to pop over here in 2 minutes, just so you know. So I may go quiet over here and then I'll jump over to the Dust Endurance. That doesn't start till 9, but I'm going to start it at 8:45 just to get it going. So if you guys want to stay here, cool. We'll do a redirect from here to Dustin, but we're also picking up on Matthew Paul out of Wisconsin. That's going to be a good one too. Hey Kathy, good morning to you. Andrielle, good to see you. Karen, you broke down and turned on the heat this morning. Denny Dawn, it's Task with Mark Ruffalo and the actor who played Ben in Ozark. I don't know if you remember Ozark or not, but Ben is in it. He's like one of the main characters, Mark Ruffalo. Yep, there's Matthew Paul is starting. We're going to cover that one. That starts at 10 o'clock. We're covering that one. And Jamaica, oh my God, yeah, that's like Dorian, I should say, hitting the Bahamas a couple years ago. Cat 5 is just going to hammer Jamaica, and it already is. I feel there's not going to be an island left. They're going to be just decimated, unfortunately. Sad but true. They're going to be without power for probably over a month, if not more. It's not going to be pretty. That is for sure. Hey Joanne, yes, lots of dinosaurs for sweet little Julian. Deviant, Ozark is great. Yeah, we love Ozark. Ozark is a great series. All right, I'm going to go start the other stream, so I'm going to go quiet here. I'm going to start the other stream, guys.
All rise.
All right, thank you. May be seated.
All right, good morning. We're here for sentencing this morning. Just a couple of reminders I'll ask to make sure that those of you who have cell phones that are allowed in the courtroom, that they're on silent for me, please. With respect to sentencing, I'll just note to all of you present here this morning that there are certain things I'm required to do as a judge that is told to me by our legislature as well as the higher courts, Supreme Court and Court of Appeals. And I'm going to address those aspects first before I go into the sentencing discussions that we'll have here on the record from the state and Ms. Ellis and her lawyers, and then my comments. So please bear with me as I comply with the procedural requirements in order to satisfy some of the due process that Ms. Ellis is owed here this morning. So with respect to a number of items that I'm going to address this morning, the first would be that based on the verdict that was handed down, and why don't I go through again just for the record. It was a 10-count indictment. I had dismissed one count during trial. The jury had returned a verdict on case 692604 of guilty of all the remaining 9 charges. Those 9 charges, count 1 being the aggravated murder, count 2 being murder under the A section of the code, count 3 being under the B section of the code, count 4 was felonious assault, as well as count 8, endangering children, guilty verdict, 2 counts of attempted murder, guilty verdicts, and then finally the last count, which would have been count 10, which was the theft charge, the misdemeanor. Having found and rendered a verdict of guilty, the jury brought forward the requirements under the statute. One is that there's a duty to advise Ms. Ellis of a violent offender being found guilty on the aggravated murder of some reporting requirements that she's to report in the event that she's placed back in the community. So Ms. Ellis, I'm going to address you on a few items that need to be addressed with you before I go into the sentencing phase. Ms. Ellis, you've had an opportunity to meet with your lawyers before coming out this morning. I have provided them the duty to enroll as a violent offender. I know they spoke to you about it, and I'll go through it just briefly. Your signature is on that form from this morning as well. And so I'll just ask you, Ms. Ellis, did you have a chance to speak to your lawyers about this duty to enroll as a violent offender this morning? Did you have a chance to discuss that? And did you sign that today?
Yeah.
Very good. Being convicted or being found guilty of this offense of aggravated murder, you are required to enroll in person with the sheriff of the county in which you establish residency within 10 days of coming into that county. You're going to have to provide that sheriff a number of items: your social security, full name, residence, the information regarding this verdict from the jury, addresses of employment or school, driver's license information. All of that's required to be provided if given that opportunity to be back in the community to the county sheriff. You're required to provide fingerprints and palm prints, and after the date of initial enrollment, you're required to re-enroll annually as well. And that's something within 10 days of the anniversary that you sign initially with the sheriff. If you change any of your addresses, you do have to provide written notice to the county and the sheriff as well. Failure to do so, you could be charged with additional felonies by the prosecution. And having reviewed that with your lawyers, do you understand that, Ms. Ellis?
Yes.
All right, very good. I'm going to go ahead and sign. With respect to some other requirements that I'm required to advise you of as well, that I want to make sure I do before I hear from all the parties. So with respect to your verdict of guilty that was found regarding count 6 of the indictment, and for the record, for the parties, for the state, and for counsel for Ms. Ellis, the finding of the jury on count 6 and 7 were both felonies of the first degree. I'm going to use count 6 with respect to sentencing guidelines, the felony of the first degree regarding Reagan Tokes notification. So because it's the first felony of the first degree of which the jury returned a verdict, is there any concerns with that? Ms. Fralia, I do have to still advise, still understanding that count 1 will be controlling regarding sentence.
Correct, Your Honor. The state was going to elect on count 7 and have count 6 and count 8 merge into count 7. And we are going to elect on count 7 for sentencing purposes.
So with respect to count 7, so let me just make sure. Okay, so count 7, the felony of the first degree, the court will advise Reagan Tokes. Any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
And then all other Reagan Toke sentences will merge into that. So, Ms. Ellis, the legislature has put in an indefinite sentence that I have to advise you of regarding this count. Now we've agreed count 7, the court will move forward on regarding Reagan Toke sentencing guidelines. I know for some of you here in the courtroom, you'll say, why is he doing this? Well, to protect, again, due process and to make sure that I protect the record for the Court of Appeals. So let me just advise you, on count 7, the sentence anywhere ranges from 3 to 11 years. Under the Reagan Toke sentencing guidelines, we'll go to the highest sentence and explain that. Under the highest sentence of 11 years, our legislature has now implemented an indefinite sentence. That indefinite sentence is really a mathematical equation. So if you take the 11 years and divide it in half, you then add it back to the 11 to give the sentencing range. So with respect to Reagan Tokes and count 7, the maximum sentence you could receive is 11 years, which is the minimum, to an indefinite sentence of 16 and a half. So dividing 11 is 5 and a half. Adding it back to 11 is 16 and a half. So I'm advising you, Ms. Ellis, the sentencing range on the maximum sentence with respect to count 7 will be 11 minimum to an indefinite sentence of 16 and a half. So do you understand that? Okay. Now I'll just read the requirements that the Court of Appeals has asked me to read. So I'll read it to you because I have to read it, but then I'll answer some questions if you have any. For purposes of just this count and all of the other sentence being merged into count 7 for Reagan Tokes, it's presumed, Ms. Ellis, under the law that an offender is going to be released at service of sentence at the expiration of the minimum term. So if it was the only sentence you were receiving, it's presumed that you'd be released at the 11 years, if in fact that's the highest sentence that you receive, and any of the other 3 to 11. It's presumed also that you serve no more than the indefinite sentence. So the maximum I told you was 16 and a half. So that range, and the law says you should be released at the minimum, but you shouldn't serve more than the maximum indefinite sentence. If the parole authority is going to have a hearing to keep you longer than the minimum, they have to place on the record during that hearing, it's a hearing held at the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections. They have to outline conduct which is considered reasons why you should stay longer than the minimum, whether you participated in any rehabilitation, your threat to society, and your restrictive housing, if any, while you have been confined. Ms. Ellis, they have to notify you of the hearing. The hearing is then held with you being present before the Department of Rehabilitation, and then those items that have to be presented to overcome that presumption that you served the minimum sentence. And finally, they can do it more than one time. So the department may make the specific determinations and maintain your incarceration beyond the minimum sentence more than one time, and they can have multiple hearings, but every hearing they have to have you present and present that evidence that they wanted to present on why you should stay longer. So do you understand those, how that affects a Reagan Toke sentencing? Okay, thank you. And then finally, the last advisement that I have to advise is post-release control. Even though we have a life sentence with parole eligibilities that I will consider today for sentencing, I still have to advise you that on the felony of the first degree, under all felonies of the first degree, they will be controlling with respect to post-release control. Ms. Ellis, post-release control is supervision by a parole officer. Here in our state, under felonies of the first degree, you have a mandatory minimum of 2 years that you have to report, up to a maximum of 5 years. That will be imposed upon you if given the opportunity to be placed back in the community. You'll have the ability then to report to a parole officer, and you would have to follow all their terms and conditions. If you violate parole, which is also known, again, I keep saying parole, it's post-release control, or PRC, our parole board has a hearing, and they can determine if you're in violation, and they can send you back to prison for up to 1/2 the time you served for me, or a minimum term imposed upon you in 9-month increments. If you're on post-release control and pick up a new case and convicted of a new felony, the new sentencing judge will have the authority to terminate your post-release control or order a consecutive term up to the greater of 12 months or the remaining period of post-release control. Again, those are advisements that, in order to have due process, I have to note for the record, and I believe I've satisfied the Reagan-Toke requirements, the requirements regarding post-release control, and the requirements regarding the notation of the reporting under the act regarding her violence on her aggravated murder that she has to report to. So that being said, let me just go back to the state of Ohio. Are there anything that you believe I may have missed regarding the mandatory reporting requirements that I needed to place on the record today?
No, Your Honor.
And then on behalf of Ms. Ellis?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you both. All right, that being said, again, here for sentencing, I'll just note for the record that hearing from the parties this morning, I also received some letters from the general public, and those, a couple of those were not noted with names, but I wanted to make whoever the general public is that sent letters to me that I did review those prior to today's sentencing as well. And so I'll ask from the state of Ohio if the state would like to place on the record any comments regarding sentencing before I hand down a sentence here this morning.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, we do. As you notice, I also have the North Olmsted Police Department members of that department are here as well. We're going to begin this morning with Mr. and Mrs. Wood would like to address the judge.
All right, very good. I think we're going to have the podium, just so you can stand where you're at. We'll have you do that. We'll have Mr. Toms put it there. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
And I'll just note, I do have the microphone on. If you could just speak loudly and clearly, take your time if you're going to read from something. If you don't mind stating your name for the record and just spelling it for the record.
All right, well, my name is Jared Wood, Jaredwood.
Very good. I'll ask the advocate maybe just to push that up a little.
Is this better?
Sure.
All right.
And thank you. I'll hear from you this morning.
Oh, thank you. I am here today to speak on behalf of my son, Julian Wood, who is no longer here to speak for himself, and I am thankful for you to be giving me this opportunity to do so. It's hard to know where to start when talking about him, so I guess I'll start with letting you know that our family is no stranger to the struggles of cognitive or behavioral differences. Our oldest child has autism. He was actually considered nonverbal, and it wasn't until he was about 7 years old when he became verbal. We tried everything we could to help as parents, but who I should say, actually got him to break free and open up and talk to the point to where we have actually a hard time getting him to stop now, was Julian himself. Julian had a special way with people to get them to grow and open up and just have fun. That was the kind of kid he was. He was funny, outgoing, fearless, and full of life, love, and laughter. The energy he brought to the world was boundless. I even called him my copper top baby because his hair wasn't as quite the same color as red as mine, but it was more of a copper color like the battery. Julian loved dinosaurs, and outside of saying hi, Mom and Dad, dinosaur was his first word, which actually shocked all of us with how big of a word it was at such a young age. He also loved Halloween, so much so that he chose to be a dinosaur every year without fail, and he would even find his old costumes throughout the year and put them on even though they no longer fit, not letting us take them off until it was bedtime, where we would have to put on his dino pajamas. However, these are moments that we'll never get the chance to share with him again. Julian had a way of letting you know he was near, like when he woke up in the morning, usually before daylight, with his thundering footsteps as he walked down the hallway from his room. That is when I knew it was my cue to get up and to go get him some leche, which is milk. Another way Julian made his presence known was by taking his brother's toys and running around laughing because he knew he couldn't catch them, and it was funny to take big brother's things, which unknowingly helped his brother find his voice and start speaking up for himself. He always knew when you were down or feeling some kind of way, and he would do in his own way what he felt you needed to feel better. For me, when he felt I was down or had a rough day, he would get his brother and they would tag team wrestle me and just beat me up. We would roughhouse a little on the bed here and there, and he would also run into the kitchen whenever I came home from work to greet me. Sometimes I would tease him by hiding behind the doors, and he would look stumped to where I was. And I would jump out roaring like a dinosaur, and he'd roar back and then punch me in the stomach and go, "Ah, you scared me, Dad." For my wife, he would snuggle deeply and tell her he loved her. And sometimes he would fearlessly climb onto the counter and go into the cabinets and pull out a box of cake mix and help her make a cake. And for his grandmother, he was glued to her side. They had their inside jokes. He learned to love all the odd old candies like black licorice or candy corn. And for his brother, he would sit with him and watch videos on his iPad, so Big Brother knew he was near. He was just so smart and funny and knew things that most little kids didn't know. Like whenever we would go in the car, he would always try to give us directions to McDonald's because he always wanted French fries. Another thing he always wanted to do was help us with errands. If he saw me or my wife putting on our tennis shoes, he would run and put his shoes on and wanted to go and just to spend time with us. Now, these are things we will never get to do with him again. What I am most sad about now is not just the time I don't get to spend with him, but the time his brother, his sister, his mother, his grandma, and all of our family that doesn't get to spend with him with the time again, and we are all robbed of that opportunity. He was on a path to be a big kid, which is why I called him my big guy too. He was going to be the protector of his brother and sister. That part was evident since the moment I brought Julian and his brother to the hospital to meet the new baby sister and see their mother. Julian was so in love with her. He wouldn't leave her alone or take his eyes off her while we're there. And he even tried feeding her while she laid in the crib sleeping. His sister won't get to know the amount of love he had for her other than from what we tell her. She didn't even get a full 2 months with him before he was taken from us. When we had our daughter, I finally felt I had a full life. I had everything I ever wanted. A beautiful, loving wife, 2 sons and a daughter. It didn't even last all of 2 months before that monster took him from us. Now all of our hearts will forever be missing a piece, and it's up to all of us to keep his light shining, even though his star is gone. With that, I would like to thank you for taking the time to hear me out and speak about our son and what he was able to give this world in such a short time. And thank you again to the prosecution, Anna and Julian, for fighting so hard for our boy and my wife. And thanks to the jury for getting it right. And thank you to the North Olmsted Police Department for all the work you guys did with helping on that day. And to the community for the continued support. We will be forever grateful. With all that being said, to Judge Russo, I ask you to do what's best for my family and the community, so she has no opportunity to commit these heinous crimes again. I'm asking you to give her the maximum sentence possible, life without parole. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll hear from you, Margo.
Did I say my name?
Well, sure. I'm sorry.
My name is Margaret Wood, Margot. I watched my son take his first breaths when he was born, and I watched him take his last in my arms, covered in his blood. A mother should never have to bury their child. A mother is supposed to go first, not her children. A mother shouldn't receive her child's death certificate at 3 years old, and his cause of death is by homicide. That woman murdering my son replays in my head every single day. It is my living nightmare. The last thing I will ever hear from my son is his scream, the sound of his pain and fear before he was gone. And I can still see the terror in his eyes, and it haunts me every day. He was my baby boy, and the day he died, a part of me died with him. My older son has autism. He doesn't fully understand why his little brother, his best friend, isn't here anymore. He asks us about heaven, and if we can just wake up baby Julian so he can come home and be here with us. He thinks if he goes to the hospital, he can go and see him. When his dad goes to run an errand or leaves for work, my son worries that he won't come home. I have to call my husband on video chat so he can make sure his dad isn't dead. The days Jared and I were here for trial, he thought we both died. So my aunt and my mom had to reassure him that we were okay and we would be home later. When his friends or teachers at school are absent due to being sick or having appointments, when they come back, he runs to them and gives them a big hug and yells, "You're alive." You have not only hurt me, you have You have not only taken away my youngest son, you have caused trauma to my other children. My daughter was only 2 months old when she killed my sweet boy. Julian gave his sister all the love and affection a big brother could ever give in that short time. Coming home from preschool, he would take off his backpack and run to give her a big hug and a kiss. He helped with bath time, stood next to me during diaper changes, and would help with giving her a bottle. They were like two peas in a pod, Velcroed together. Wherever she was, he was right next to her. My daughter is 18 months. And now she only knows going to the cemetery to see her brother. She will never get another hug, a kiss, or a cuddle from her older brother. He is now just her guardian angel. She will never know how much he loved her and how happy he was to see her when she was born. Only the stories that we tell her. Julian brought laughter, light, and love in our home with his infectious laugh. He helped with my oldest son in so many ways with communication and play. Our home isn't as loud and chaotic anymore, not the way it used to be. There's no one playing with dinosaurs and chasing around his big brother with them. My boys aren't wrestling in the living room and dancing to the Minions movies. There is no one dressing up for Halloween as a dinosaur. My son would have been 5 in 2 days. She took that from us. She took birthdays, holidays, milestones, graduations, seeing what kind of man he would have turned into. No grandchildren, no nieces or nephews for his siblings. When you murdered him, you took those potential lives, moments, and memories from all of us. If I want my family to be whole, we have to go to the cemetery where all of my children could be together. My oldest doesn't like going because it makes him sad. Now when I take pictures of my son, it's just his name on a wall, surrounded by flowers and dinosaurs that people leave him. Instead of taking photos of him making funny photos, cute smiles, or laughing pictures. I hate you with every fiber of my being. Because of you, I live in constant fear. For months, I couldn't leave my home. If I did leave my home, I needed someone by my side, and even then I was stricken with fear. I don't take my children to the store by myself anymore because I fear something might happen. I leave my kids at home with my mom and go by myself because if anything happens, it'll just happen to me. I hate that I'm here and my son is gone. Just because you have a mental illness doesn't mean you can use that to justify you murdering my son. What you did was unforgivable, and it can never be taken back. You deserve to go to jail for the rest of your life, so you can't hurt anyone else. You don't deserve a second chance. You don't deserve mercy. You didn't give my son any. You belong in prison where there is no chance of you getting out. The jury got it right when they read the verdict that you were guilty on all counts. It felt like the first time I could actually breathe in the last 499 days. Because I knew in my heart that you were going exactly where you need to be, in prison. You don't deserve the luxury of a mental facility where you can earn privileges and possibly be released back into the world. That's too good for you. The world is safer with you behind bars. Judge Russo, I urge you to give her the maximum penalty. without parole, so she has no chance of hurting another innocent soul like my sweet baby boy, Julian.
Thank you. Ms. Feralia?
Yes. Detective Sean Ventris from the North Olmsted Police Department was going to speak.
Morning, everybody. Morning, Your Honor.
Morning.
I'm just going to read this tilted, if that's okay.
Sure.
My name is Detective Sean Ventris, and I'm with the North Olmsted Police Department. First name is spelled S-E-A-N. Last name is V as in Victor, E-N-T-R-I-C-E. I speak today on behalf of every officer and staff member who was involved in the investigation of the murder of 3-year-old Julian Wood. No amount of training can prepare a police officer for the loss of a child. This case has left a lasting emotional impact on everyone who responded that day. The officers who found Julian Wood will never forget what they saw, the innocence that was taken, and the silence that followed. For many, it is an image and weight they will carry for the rest of their lives. Our department has seasoned officers, people who have spent decades on the job, who struggle to sleep, break down in private, and question how something so cruel could happen. Some sought counseling, others withdrew, and all were changed. In policing, we learn to build emotional armor, but this case pierced through it completely. The impact extended far beyond the station walls. The community where we serve was shaken to its core. Parents became fearful, neighbors grieved together, and many questioned how such violence could touch the life of a young child. The officers who patrol these streets now do so with heavier hearts, knowing that the unthinkable is possible even here in North Olmsted. For months, our investigators worked tirelessly, reviewing the case and collecting evidence. Every step of the process was fueled not just by duty, but by a deep personal drive to bring justice for a little boy who could not speak for himself. This case has reminded us all of both the fragility of life and the weight of our responsibility as protectors of our community. It has strengthened our resolve, but also revealed the deep emotional cost of what we do. On behalf of the North Olmsted Police Department, I ask the court to recognize that this crime did not only destroy one young life, it profoundly affected an entire community and the officers sworn to serve it. Justice in this case is not only about punishment, it is about acknowledging the immense harm done and ensuring that such tragedy is never repeated. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Feralia?
Thank you, Your Honor. The overriding purposes of felony sentencing are to protect the public from future crimes and punish the offender. The state, Your Honor, is going to ask you to impose the maximum penalty allowed by law in this case. Life without parole for Julian Wood and consecutive time for Margo Wood. Your Honor, you sat with us for 8 days and learned about Bionca Ellis. She had no regard for human life when she stabbed a vulnerable 3-year-old child sitting in a shopping cart. She stabbed him to death after hunting him down. She targeted him. And I'm sure, Your Honor, you remember how this defendant selected her weapon of choice. She left Volunteers of America with 2 knives in her hand. She goes to Things Outlet, and you observe her on the video searching and looking around with knives on her back, behind her back. She walks out, and she goes to a cement column to check out the pliability of the knife. She keeps the 8-inch butcher knife. She continues to walk into Giant Eagle, passing people on both sides of her. But once she sees Julian in a shopping cart and Margo pushing that shopping cart, she does an immediate about face, and she follows them closely behind. Mrs. Wood stops. The defendant continues to walk past her, but she waits. She waits at the foyer of Giant Eagle, the entrance, as Margo and Julian pass her by. She gets right behind them. She resumes walking behind them through the parking lot until she gets to Margo and Julian. And then you know what happens next. When a murder occurs in our community, folks want answers. When a murder occurs, the victim is able to fight back, yet they succumb to their acts, they succumb to their attack, and they die. What is unique and so heinous in this case is that a defenseless 3-year-old who had absolutely no ability to fight off his attacker was slaughtered by this defendant, and he succumbed to his injuries. The surveillance video of Giant Eagle demonstrates that this defendant carefully chose her victims and executed her plan. Her egregious actions demand the most punishment allowed under the law. You know, Judge, words are bantered about in courtrooms daily. As lawyers, we choose our words carefully. We have word choices, we have pronunciations, we have inflections in our voices. And we have a jury system made up of common, ordinary people who walk into this courtroom not knowing what case they are going to sit on. But that jury system is the crux of our legal system. The jury in this case chose its word carefully, and they found Bionca Ellis guilty of all counts. They rejected the not guilty by reason of insanity at the time of the act, indicating that this defendant knew the difference between right and wrong. Now, Judge, we stand before you and ask you that in a civilized society, we, the people, rely on the recourse of the law. We take an oath to uphold the law. Now it's time to impose punishment for breaking the law. When I hear the word mercy, mercy is given by God. Courtrooms, judges dispense justice. Society, Judge, cannot afford another Bionca Ellis harming another Julian Wood or Margo Wood in this community. I know that you will take everything into consideration. And I know that you will do what society demands and what this family deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of Ms. Ellis. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
can. Judge, thank you, first of all.
The microphone was turned off. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay.
I could have heard you anyways, but I just want to make
I
sure.
thought so.
Yeah, thank you.
As you know, these are unique trials when the defense is not guilty by reason of insanity. Not unlike a capital murder case, you get to hear the mitigation during the course of the trial. And what we learned is that Bionca's 34 years old. She has no prior felony convictions. We accepted responsibility in this case. We acknowledged it in voir dire, in opening statement, and then in closing argument. She allowed for us to have that as a part of her defense. And we know that she's remorseful. You heard the testimony of Dr. West. She told you that once Bionca learned what had occurred, she was tearful. She expressed it. And throughout the course of this trial, Bionca demonstrated good behavior. She was polite. She never got out of pocket. And that is Bionca on medication. And that trial lasted for 8, 9, 10 days. If nothing more, we learned that she's two different people. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When she's medicated, this is what you get. When she's not medicated, what happened on June 3rd, it's a different version of Bionca. Now, typically at this stage, as defense lawyers, we capitulate, we talk about responsibility, we talk about remorse. And what I want to say is this. Mr. Johnson and I respectfully disagree with the verdict. And while we have tremendous respect for that family back there and the courage that they've shown, the civility that they've demonstrated throughout the course of this trial, and respect for the state and law enforcement who did a great job in this case. Although we accept the verdict, we respectfully disagree with it. And what I'll say is that you have to decide the worst form of the offense when you are sentencing. And we all know that all the experts in the case agree that Bionca was mentally ill. You know she suffered from a severe mental disease. There's no question about that. And that we all know that from at least January of 2024 all the way up until June of 2024, she was unstable, she was hospitalized, and she was not on medication. You had that evidence as recent as maybe 3 or 4 days prior to this incident while she was in the North Olmsted jail. So she's not okay from January to June of 2024. And then once she's arrested and she comes into the arraignment room for the next couple of months, we know that she's incompetent. Somehow, just on the day of the incident, she's not well. And I'm by no means, I'm not relitigating this. That's not my intention. You understand that. This is something that you're allowed to take into consideration for purposes of mitigation and deciding whether or not this case is the worst form of the offense. I am firmly convinced that had she been found not guilty by reason of insanity, based on my experience with these cases, that she'd probably be in hospital for the next 20, 30 years. You're allowed to weigh all of that. And she's been in custody for almost a year and a half. When on medication, she's been on custody without incident. I don't know if they want me to point them out, but she's had strong family support throughout the course of this trial. And looking at the sentencing factors under 2929.12, I think that there's a lot of mitigation in this case. And I know how powerful these facts are as it relates to the death of a child. And I know it's a very weighty decision for you. But judges don't make decisions based on emotions. You follow the law, you look at the sentencing factors, and then you make a decision based on their history and their characteristics. You make a decision based on what you know about her. So, both Mr. Johnson and I respectfully ask the court to consider 20 years before she's parole eligible to a life sentence and sentence her accordingly as it relates to Margo's injuries. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, anything? Anything on Ms. Ellis would like to speak?
I just want to say I apologize. I'm really sorry for what happened.
Okay. All right, you can be seated. Thank you. Justin, don't mind just pushing it right up to me so it's out of the way. Thank you. Thanks for doing that. So with respect to sentencing, so I have some comments that I'd like to make. You know, I think it's fair for all of you to understand, just as the lawyers have pointed out, there are certain guidelines I follow as a judge. And some of those things that are said are mitigating. Others I take into consideration, just like any other of my fellow 33 judges here on the bench. You know, sometimes the word is desire and demand. You know, those are not in the revised code section 292911 or 292912. I don't say that to minimize any of the comments that were made, but I do take in everything, right? So I don't come up here on the bench without some idea of what the court may use as the tools under the revised code section to move forward with sentencing. And so I'll say to the Woods family, nothing I say here will ever capture the enormity of your loss. This court recognizes that your lives were forever changed on June 3rd of 2024. Understanding your comments, I thank you for them. No sentence I impose today will make you or your family whole again, and you know that. I do want you to know that I acknowledge, even similarly as Mr. Mack said, your courage, your hopes. And today, my hope is that this brings some measure of closure for you to continue to move on in your lives. As you continue to navigate the landscape of life without your son, please know that I'm painfully aware of Julian's void in your lives. Justice cannot undo tragedy, but it can affirm that what happened was wrong and that your child's life mattered. And to the Ellis family, you've been here the whole time as well. I do want to acknowledge that this process as well has been painful for all of you. As a family, you must forge ahead and try to understand the nature and gravity of this case. Again, while my sentence must reflect the severity of the crime, I do not ignore that your family too are experiencing loss. And I hope that you find strength in the days ahead. Ms. Ellis, as noted, the jury of your peers has spoken. They have found that although we all have agreed that you suffer from schizophrenia, that you did understand the nature and wrongfulness of your actions as handed down in all of the guilty verdicts by this jury. You know, the power of the American jury system is that it reflects the values of all the community that they represent. And as I sit here as a judge for almost 21 years, as a court, I accept the finding of your peers, and I'll sentence accordingly. You know, the tragic sequence of events of June 3rd of 2024 and that attack, the jury has found was calculated and wholly without justification or reason of any kind. You know, I rewatched every video for preparation for sentencing that was presented during the trial. And I find that it's clear that in that evidence, you are fixated on the very first child that you crossed paths with that tragic day. That tragic day, you chose to end the life of Julian Wood. A life, as we heard today, that was filled with limitless promises. Your choice has inflicted immeasurable pain on the Wood family, on your own family, and as we heard, on the community in which we all live. Mental illness does not excuse what you did. Although it will be taken into consideration when you are sentenced, that you continue to receive ongoing treatment while incarcerated. Ms. Ellis, I hope that you use this time to confront the harsh reality of the actions that you've created here in the courtroom. No sentence that I hand down today can undo the pain that you cause, but justice requires that your actions have consequences. Before concluding with my sentence and outlining what I will hand down today, I do want to take a moment to address an issue that confronts this court and our communities near and far. This tragedy did not occur in isolation. As a society that cares for the members of the community, we cannot continue to ignore the glaring gap in our county's mental health support system. It is not lost on this court that this trial started during Mental Illness Awareness Week, a week that recognizes the importance of meaningful connections, advocacy, and local actions to ensure that adequate mental health services are available to each and every citizen here in Cuyahoga County. Significantly, the medical experts in this case testified on October 10th, a day that was globally recognized as World Mental Health Day, a day that's dedicated to raising awareness around mental disorders and combating their social stigma. It's in this spirit I hope we all continue to confront the gap between the need for mental health treatment and its effective and equitable distribution and provision to all of those in our community. And therefore, I urgently implore our city and county leaders to continue providing facilities and programs that respond quickly and compassionately to those in crisis. The need is dire now than far too many of us realize. The leaders in this county have been discussing this topic for far too long. Please get it done. No family should have to lose a child, and no family should have to watch their loved ones deteriorate because meaningful and effective mental health services were unavailable. The absence of adequate and functioning mental health facilities in our community has tragic consequences. And I call upon our leaders at every level of government to make providing and supporting mental health care a true priority so that others in crisis can be helped before another tragedy occurs. But Ms. Ellis, again, I want to state that while your mental illness was accepted by this jury, it is not an excuse for what you did. The jury found that although you suffer from schizophrenia, you understood the nature and wrongfulness of your actions and handed down their guilty verdict on all charges. When reviewing the sentencing factors as outlined under 29-29-11 and 29-29-12, my job as a judge here is to punish the offender, but also to make sure that the sentence should be proportionate and not demeaning to the seriousness of the offender's conduct and the impact on the victims, and consistent with other sentences with similar crimes. In looking at the seriousness, of course, the child's age and the suffering weigh heavily for this court as well. And so with respect to my sentencing, after taking in consideration all the matters before the court that are appropriate under the principles and purposes of sentencing, the court's going to impose the following sentence. Starting with count 2, as found guilty on count 2 of murder, it's a life with parole eligibility at 15 years. On count 3, the murder charge under the B section, it's life with parole eligibility at 15 years. And those are the maximum sentences that can be handed down on those 2 counts. On count 4, with respect to the Reagan-Toke sentencing guidelines, Count 4 and Count 8 are both felonies of the second degree felonious assault. We also speak to Count 5, which was the endangering children as a felony of the second degree. And then we speak to Count 7 and 6. The state and I have agreed that I will move forward with Count 7. Under Count 7, under the Reagan-Toke sentencing guidelines on the attempted murder in Count 7, the court's going to hand down the maximum sentence of 11 years as the minimum sentence to the indefinite sentence of 16 and a half years. Again, I've outlined the Reagan-Toke guidelines and the reporting requirements for post-release control that will be controlling on all other felonies of the second and first degree, this being the highest level. I've outlined the 5 provisions, as I noted for the record already. And then with respect to the Count 4 and 8, the maximum sentence is 8 years. I'll hand down that sentence. Count 5, 8 years. Count 6, 11 years. Count 8, 8 years. And then as indicted, Count 10, which would be a 6-month sentence on the misdemeanor charge. Regarding aggravated murder and finding the defendant guilty of aggravated murder by this jury, the court's going to hand down a sentence of life without parole. I'll run every other sentence concurrent to life without parole. Ms. Ellis, you'll be given credit to 509 days of the time that you've served. I'll order you in the custody of the sheriff to transport you to Marysville Correctional Facility. I'll also indicate that fines, fees, and court costs will be waived with respect to this sentence. In addition to the verdict that has been handed down by this jury and the sentence that the court handed down, Ms. Ellis, you have a right to appeal both the sentence and the conviction in this case. You can do that by filing a notice of appeal with the clerk of courts within 30 days of this sentence. If you're unable to pay for the cost of an appeal, you have the right to appeal without payment of costs. If you're unable to obtain counsel for an appeal, I'll appoint counsel to represent you. If you're unable to pay the cost of documents necessary, they are provided to you without cost. You have a right to a notice of appeal filed timely on your behalf. And Ms. Ellis or counsel, do you wish to appeal both the sentence and the conviction handed down in this case?
Yes, Your Honor. No objection for the record and appoint counsel for the appeal.
I'll note your objection regarding my sentence, and knowing that she's unable to afford counsel, I'm going to appoint the public defender to represent her with respect to her appeal. Again, noting for the record, all counts will be run concurrent to each other, with the life without parole being count 1 sentence. I'll waive all fines, fees, and court costs, give her credit for the 509 days that she served, in addition to time while she awaits her transportation to Marysville Correctional Facility for Women. Is there anything further from the state of Ohio before we recess?
No, Your Honor.
Anything on behalf of Ms. Ellis?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we adjourn. Thank you.
All right, so on count 1, which was, the first degree, she did get life without parole. There was some other, 11 years for count 6, 8 years, 6 months, all the other counts. But the main one was that she got life without parole. So she got life without parole. So. I want to stick around just for a little bit to see if there'll be a press conference. I have a feeling that that there may be a press conference. Let me just stick around just for a little bit. All right, so they're done there. All right, we have a busy day for you guys. We have a busy day. We're going to pick up on Matthew Paul. We are also streaming Dustin Duran. So we'll stay here for a moment. Doesn't look like much going on. All right, you guys, we're gonna head over to Dustin Doran. Looks like they're just showing the courthouse, or the courtroom, I should say. If there's any kind of press conference, we'll see if we'll grab it, and then we'll play it later. All right, thank you for joining us, Justice for Julian. Sweet little dude. So sad, But yep, life without parole. So I hope she still gets her mandated, or I hope her meds. You know, I mean, as terrible as what she did was absolutely terrible, and I just hope she gets her medication, because she's going to. It's just going to be. Well, if she doesn't, she's just going to. I don't know. She's going to rot, unfortunately. So. John, I know a lot of you guys are asking this. Thank you for your $5 support there, John. Why can't I pull that up? A lot of it has to do with appeals. He said due process, putting it on the record. So you can't just get up there and say life without parole. You have to go through all of this. I know it's maybe frustrating for some of you, but this is the process. You just have to do that. So, all right, you guys, we have a redirect set up for Dustin Doran. He's still on the stand. He's just talking about the shooting and the aftermath. We're also going to stay here. We're going to pick up on Matthew Paul. That's a new one out of Wisconsin. So thank you for joining us today. We will continue dual streaming. It's going to be a busy day. We're dropping clues for our Halloween party over at Dustin Doran. I know Aussie Gardner dropped one. So if you guys want to go check that out, I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you to our mods. We're dual streaming, so they're doing a lot today. Thank you to Erin. She's also doing a lot on the back end. And thank you for joining us for Julian Wood and Margo Wood and Bionca Ellis. And justice was served. I just hope Bionca can get some help. She needs help, but right now I don't know what she's going to get in jail. So we'll see. All right, you guys, have a good one, and we'll see you over at Dustin Doran, and also we're starting Matthew Paul's stream as well. So we'll see you later. Bye.